Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, to everyone. This video will explaining on chapter 1 notes, which is introduction to research and research methodology. This is the first part of the chapter, introduce the concept of social science research and scientific research. Okay, what is research? Okay, research is the gathering of data, information, and facts for the advanced knowledge. Okay, research process deals with the ways and strategies used to understand the world around us. Research starts with asking a question. The purpose of the research is to give an answer. How to get from the question to answer? By ask an interesting and realistic question, collect the information, structure and connect the information, make the answer, and draw a conclusion. However, it is not a linear process but a cyclical process. Okay, for example, from question may go to collect the data and then analyze the data. If that is not good in analyze data analyze, so I have to collect the additional or other information. Or did I ask the right question? If I not get the good analyzed data, so did I ask the right question? Ask for yourself. Then if you get the good analyzed data, then you may go to answer. Then you will get your answer. Okay, did I answer the question? If yes, then you may go to conclusion. Okay, did I ask the right question? If yes, you may go to conclusion. But if not, you have to restart your process. Next, okay, the concept of social science research and scientific research. Is there any clear demarcation between scientific research methodology and management or social science research methodologies? Are they complementary and cannot be separable? Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates have studied domains such as astronomy, philosophy, mathematics, logic, and medicine. Aristotle and Galileo are the initial contributors of scientific research. Scientific research, for example, core sciences, engineering sciences, applied sciences, social sciences, natural sciences, biological sciences, zoological sciences, medical and health sciences. For social sciences, for example, history, political sciences, sociology, physics, psychology, linguistics, philosophy, and cultural studies. Information systems research requires combination of technological and social issues. It is derived from the domains such as cognitive science, computer science, ergonomics, organizational theory, management science, political science, economics, or psychology, language theory, and organizational behavior. Information system research can also be technical or behavioral in nature. This research process involves revising theories, facts, and applications. The goal of current-day research is discovery and dissemination of knowledge and information. The traditional research concentrated on finding and developing knowledge on the unknowns. The methodology has origins from Greek word. Social science research. Social science research is the activity of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information related to human behavior. Discipline studies such as education, anthropology, psychology, history, sociology, economics. There are two methods for social science research, which are qualitative research and quantitative research. Alright, the differences between qualitative research and quantitative research are explore the meaning of people's experience, okay? For example, culture, focus on how people behave in the natural environment, okay? while the quantitative research is examining the relationship between variables, for example, focus on specific behaviors that can be quantified. Alright, qualitative research is inductive while quantitative research is deductive. What is inductive? Researchers don't start with clear theory and have general conclusion. For deductive, start from general idea and can be confirmed or not. Based on theory, researchers develop an hypothesis which then is accepted through the analysis of data. Therefore, qualitative research does require small sample, while quantitative research requires large samples. Qualitative research data is descriptive and comes from interviews, while for quantitative research, data are measurable and can be expressed in numerical form. Qualitative research, method may change during the same research and different kind of data may be decided to be collected. The data usually take the form of long written notes. In this case, the same researcher need to organize the data and identify the specific themes or topics. While for quantitative research, to analyze this data, statistical methods are used. For qualitative is narrative, while for quantitative is statistical report. For qualitative tools that can support the analysis of data, for example, Vivo is a popular computer software that allows you to store, organize, and categorize your data. While for quantitative, to compute the calculation, there are different software. For example, Excel. For scientific research is a cyclic process of generation ideas, conducting research, analyzing the findings, and using them to generate more ideas. The eventual goal is to build a theory and explanation of how and why processes occur, supported by current evidence. Research process starting with identify research hypothesis, followed by design study, followed by carry out research, followed by analyze result, and finally publish the result. Research basics. There are four research basics, which are research methods, experimental research, research designs, and statistics in research. In research method, we need to formulating questions, collecting data, testing hypotheses. In experimental research, we need to set up the experiment. For research design, there are different types of design used in research. And for statistics is they need a guide to statistic research. Alright, research step. Question about the big picture concepts, literature review, hypothesis, and prediction. From real-world phenomenon background and theory, choose design and method. Test hypothesis. Next, describe implication. Is it possible? Is it generalized? And lastly, data collection. For example, results, statistical analysis, discussion, and conclusions. Alright, aim of research. Starting with hypothesis, and then deduction, prediction, observation, test of prediction, then induction, and then rotate again with the hypothesis. Alright, so explain the concept of ethics in research. Ethics in research. So the concept of ethics in research, ethics is defined by Mercury Dictionary as the rule of conduct recognized in respect of a particular class of human actions. Why are research ethics important? Because science has often been manipulated in unethical ways by people and organizations engaging in activities that are contrary to the norms of specific conduct in order to advance their private agenda. Ethical principles in scientific research, for example, voluntary participation and harmlessness, anonymity and confidentiality, disclosure, analysis and reporting. Voluntary, we are focusing on voluntary participation. Okay, for the concept of voluntary participation means participants have the freedom to withdraw from the study at any time without any unfavorable consequences, and they will not be harmed as a result of their participation or non-participation in the project. As an instructor asks their students to fill out a questionnaire and informs them that their participation is voluntary, students should not fear that their non-participation may hurt their grade in class in any way. All participants must receive and sign an informed consent form that clearly describes their right to refuse participation as well as the right to withdraw before their responses in the study can be. The concept of anonymity and confidentiality to protect subjects' interests and future well-being, participants' identity must be protected in a scientific study. Anonymity implies that the researcher or readers of the final research report or paper cannot identify a respondent by their response. An example of anonymity in scientific research is a postal survey in which no identification numbers are used to track who is responding to the survey and who is not. In some research designs, such as face-to-face interviews, anonymity is not possible. Under such circumstances, subjects should be guaranteed confidentiality, in which the researcher can identify a person's responses but promises not to divulge the persons identified in any report, paper, or public forum. Confidentiality is a weaker form of protection than anonymity because it makes countries, researchers, and the subjects do not enjoy the same profession confidential relationship privilege as is granted to lawyers and their clients. Validity. The concept of validity and reliability in social science research and experimental research. Validity is the extent to which the scores from a measure presents the variable they are intended to. Validity is concerned with the meaningfulness of research components. When researchers measure behaviors, they are concerned with whether they are measuring what they intended to measure. Does the IQ test measure intelligence? Does the GRE actuality predict successful completion of a graduate study program? These are questions of validity, and even though they can never be answered with complete certainty, researchers can develop support for the validity of their measures. Okay, types of validity, there are four. Statistical conclusion validity, internal, construct, and external. But we are going to focus on construct validity only. Construct validity. If a relationship is causal, what are the particular cause and effect behaviors or constructs involved in the relationship? Construct validity refers to how well you translate or transform a concept, idea, or behavior that is a construct into a functioning and operating reality to operationalization. To substantiate construct validity involve accumulating evidence in 6 validity types. Okay, phase, content, concurrent and predictive, convergent and discriminant. Okay, Trokin divides 6 types into 2 categories, which are translation validity and criterion related validity. For phase validity, to substantiate construct validity involve accumulating evidence in 6 validity types, which are phase, content, concurrent, predictive, and convergent, and discriminant. Okay, the division of by Trokin, which are translation and criterion. Okay, these 2 categories and their respective validity types are depicted in figure 2. Okay, this construct validity, there are two class, translation and criterion. For translation includes phase validity and content validity, while for criterion include predictive, convergent, discriminant, and concurrent. Okay, consistency and repeatability. 4 categories in mind is crucial for designing the most optimal system, which are repeatability, reliability, consistency, and accuracy. These 4 principles will take you farther than making something that is quick and easy in the long run. Okay. For the consistency, internal consistency refers to how well a survey, questionnaire, or test actually measures what you want it to measure. The higher the internal consistency, the more confident you can be that your survey is reliable. The most common way to measure internal consistency is by using a statistic known as Cronbach alpha, which calculates the pairwise correlations between items in a survey. The value for a Cronbach alpha can range between negative infinity and 1. This is the example of Cronbach's alpha. Okay, for the alpha more than 0.9 is excellent result. For the alpha between 0.8 to 0.9 is good. For the alpha between 0.7 to 0.8 is acceptable. For the alpha more than 0.6 and but less than 0.7 is questionable. For alpha between 0.5 and 0.6 is poor, but for alpha is less than 0.5 is unacceptable. For the repeatability, repeatability denotes the closeness of the agreement between independent results obtained with the same method on the identical subjects or object or test material under the same conditions. Or it is the variability of the measurements obtained by one person while measuring the same item repeatedly. This is also known as the inherent precision of a measurement equipment. Importance of accuracy and integrity in analysis and reporting to make sure that numbers in the data are as accurate as possible to obtain the accurate, truthful or reliable results, to avoid faulty that will lead to wrong conclusions, to ensure that the results are within sensible limits, to reduce cheating in doing the interview, to avoid sources of bias that impact negatively on data quality. Next, we are going to learn about the purpose and practical consideration when planning a study. Okay, what is the purpose of research? The purpose of research is therefore to find out what is known, what is not, and what can develop further. In this way, scientists can develop new theories, ideas, and products that shape our society and our everyday life. The purpose of research is to further understand the world and to learn how this knowledge can be applied to better everyday life. It is an integral part of problem solving. Although research can take many forms, there are three main purposes of research, which are categorized by exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory. For exploratory research is the first research to be conducted around a problem that has not yet been clearly defined. Exploration research, therefore, aims to gain a better understanding of the exact nature of the problem and not to provide a conclusive answer to the problem itself. This enables us to conduct more in-depth and research later on. Descriptive research expands knowledge of a research problem or phenomenon by describing it according to its characteristics and population. Descriptive research focuses on how and what, but not on the why. Explanatory research, also referred to as causal research, is conducted on how variables interact, for example, to identify cause and effect relationships. Explanatory research explains with the why of research questions and is therefore often based on experiments. Okay, for the practical consideration, we have few types to need to be considered in research. Okay, careful consideration of the practical and ethical consideration involved in carrying out a piece of educational research needs to take place of the outset. Although this is something of an interactive process and some practical issues may not emerge or pose a potential challenge, until after the research process has started. Time spent attending to the practical aspects early on will help minimize complications and will contribute to the identification of an appropriate research question. Below provides an overview of some of the main considerations that might inform your decisions about the ways in which you wish to conduct your research. Okay, first is for the time management. The second consideration is for the venue. Okay, please read what is the practical consideration required for the venue. And then research team. Okay, these are the responsibilities for the research team members, what they need to do in the team. Okay, and the last part is the laboratory and resource constraints. Alright. For the laboratory and resource constraint, we need to consider with by the identify, and then we need to exploit. Step 3 is to subordinate, elevate, and then avoid inertia. Okay, the first step is must starting with define goal. Okay, we need to consider the finance and measurement, the operation, the project management, and the distribution. Okay, for the data sampling methods, okay, there are a few data sampling methods. For example, okay, there are method for survey and method for experimental. Okay, for survey, we have few types which are random, stratified, and systematic sampling. Okay, the random sampling. The purest form of sampling under the probability approach, random sampling provides equal chances of being picked for each member of the target population. For stratified sampling, involves the use of stratum or a subset of the target population wherein the members possess one or more common attribute. Examples of stratum includes mothers, fathers, students, teachers, females, males, and etc. Sampling error is usually lower in stratified sampling than in random sampling. Okay, systematic sampling. In systematic sampling, every nth name is selected from the list of members of the target population. For instance, the sample will include the participants listed in every 10th from the list. That means that the 30th and so on will be selected to become members of the sample group. Okay, next we have convenience sampling, quota sampling, and purposive sampling. This non-probability sampling method is used when there are only a few available members of the target population who can become the participants in the survey. Another non-probability method, quota sampling, also identifies strata like stratified sampling, but it also used as convenient sampling approach as the researcher will be the one to choose the necessary number of participants per stratum. As the name suggests, purposive sampling means the researcher selects participants according to the criteria he has set. This is only used when you are confident enough about the representativeness of the participant regarding the whole target population. Okay, for the experimental research, okay, we have observational study. This type of study is carried out over a long period. It measures and observes the variable of interest without changing existing conditions. When researching the effect of social interaction on human behavior, the subjects who are placed in two different environments are observed throughout the research. No matter the kind of observed behavior that is exhibited by the subject during this period, its condition will not be changed. This may be a very risky thing to do in medical cases, but it may lead to death or worse medical conditions. Then we have simulation. This procedure uses a mathematical, physical, or computer models to replicate a real-life process or situation. It is frequently used when the actual situation is too expensive, dangerous, or impractical to replicate in real life. This method is commonly used in engineering and operational research for learning purpose and sometimes as a tool to estimate possible outcomes of real research. Some common situation software are Simulink, MATLAB, and Simulite. Not all kinds of experimental research can be carried out using simulation as a data collection. It is impractical for a lot of laboratory-based research that involve chemical process. Okay. Importance of adequate sample. There is importance, a few importance to the survey. Okay, for example, for the survey, in order to have confidence that your survey results are representative, it is critically important that you have a large number of randomly selected participants in each group you survey. So, what exactly is a large number? For a 95% confidence level, which means that there are only a 5% chance of your sample results differing from the true population average, a good estimate of the margin of error, which is a confidence interval, is given by 1 per third of n, where n is the number of participants of sample size. Okay, let's look to the following table. Okay, for example, for the sample size of 10, you may have the margin error of 0.316. Okay, for the sample size of 1000, you may have the margin error of 0.032. What can you see here is uh, by looking to the percentage also, if you have the sample error of 100, you may have 10% of margin of error. If you have the larger population size, for example 500, you may have lower margin of error, which is 4.5%. So the larger the sample size, so the smaller the margin of error. Okay, the importance while doing interview. Data saturation is an important concept as it addresses whether such a theory-based interview study is likely to have achieved an adequate sample for content validity. The question of sample size is also important because the use of sample that is larger than needed is an ethical issue, and the use of sample that are smaller than needed is both an ethical and a scientific issue. Okay? Because it may not be informative to use samples so small that results reflect idiosyncratic data and thus not transferable and may therefore be a waste of research funds and participant time. Okay? Okay, so your job is you need to find the importance of adequate sample size while using the experimental study. Okay, so there are a few tools for the research method and standard procedures. For example, interview, questionnaire, observation, official method by using AOAC, AACC, MPOB, etc. or adapted method and novel methods from other studies. So this is the references for all of the chapter 1. That's all from me for today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera.